Hey, it's Jason Maxwell here from jmaxfitness, and I am joined today with alpha male Chad Howse. Now, we're going to talk about basically what it's like to be a man, how to optimize our testosterone, all that good stuff. So, Chad's here with me. Chad, how about you give a bio to everyone of who you are and what you do?
Bio is going to be pretty quick. I basically write content to help guys live better, more optimal lives. So I've got a new site called Average to Alpha. The premise is just basically where you are right now is average in comparison to where you can be, and all of the content, be it body, business, mind, manliness, is all geared toward helping guys live more optimal lives. And I started this probably like 6 years now, and I like what I do, and it's been going well ever since I started, so it's good.
Cool. So, what's the story about how you originally got into fitness?
Fitness. Well, I played sports my whole life, so I played hockey, basketball, but then I got into boxing when I was probably 18, maybe 19, and that's when I really started focusing on training because it's a little more important when you're fighting someone than when you're shooting a jump shot against someone. So the training took precedence with boxing. I started getting a lot more involved in the training, and our boxing team didn't have a head trainer, so I got basically a mentor. Worked under him for a year, and then started training the boxing team, and then started a business, like a personal training business, and then started the site. Vince Del Monte, actually a mutual friend of ours, he's the one who introduced me to the online world. So he's what kind of got me starting the website, and then it just kind of compounded from there, and it's changed a lot over the years, but I like it. It's good.
That's sweet. I'm pretty happy you mentioned hockey, being a Canadian man myself.
Yeah.
Um, who doesn't play hockey when they're little?
Oh, I know.
But with the boxing, I didn't know that about you. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Did you do any fights?
Yeah, I had 6 fights, all in the amateurs. Went well. Loved the sport. I was at a different period in my life where I kind of understood competing a little bit better. And when I was playing hockey and basketball, I played basketball in college for a year and then played decent level hockey, but it was always super important to me. And then boxing, I was just doing it for fun. So I did a lot better. I did decently well with boxing, but then you can only box for so long if you don't want to go really at it, and you can feel the headaches and stuff like that. So started the business, and then there wasn't too much time for boxing, so that
Mhm.
took its place.
So just going back to the boxing, the hockey, which did you think was which did you feel was more demanding?
Oh, boxing. Boxing, if you want to be good at it. Boxing is, first of all, there's hockey. There's obviously there's you're always learning. No matter how long you played the game, you're learning. Boxing takes that to another level. There's so much learning involved in boxing. They call it the sweet science for a reason. Like it's a constant chess match, and it's always one on one, obviously one on one. But the person you're fighting, there's never the same person. There's not always the same style. Like you're learning a lot about yourself, how to throw punches, but you're also learning other styles, how to fight different styles, how to fight different people, and it's just as far as being demanding knowledge wise, boxing for sure, and then boxers are in best shape in the world, so definitely for training, boxing was more demanding.
Nice. Have you ever gotten in a fight in real life and had to use your boxing?
Yeah, like I've been fought when I without boxing, and then you fight with boxing. First of all, boxing, what people think, I talk about boxing a bit on the site, and so you get emails and questions from guys who want to get tough and whatever. What boxing does is it takes the emotion out of fighting. So when you're a young hothead, you're just gonna fight and because you get mad or whatever. Boxing, you're not like, you don't need to fight. It's irrelevant because you know you can fight. And if you do fight, it's not an anger fight. It's just, okay, we're doing this, so then I'm going to do this. And it takes the emotion out of fighting, and it's just so it's like math. You just go in and do it. And post when I learned boxing, fights went a lot better than when I didn't.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually used to do Muay Thai myself, so kickboxing, and it's kind of funny when you see guys get in a fight or at a bar or whatever, they just throw it all into like the first 3 or 4 punches, and they're always these huge windups,
Yeah,
and you just know you could have just got him to keep his distance with just a couple jabs.
yeah. No, it changes everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your training when you were boxing, you were, I guess that's how you got into weightlifting, right?
Yeah, I'd done it before. I just wasn't good at it. So boxing was the thing that really helped me uh, study it. So before that, I'd do it, but I didn't really have much success at it. Boxing got me down to really studying weightlifting, studying what you're doing and what works best. And so that really got me into fitness for sure.
Cool. So what was your training looking like at that point in your life?
When I was boxing,
Hmm.
so there was a lot of like Olympic lifting, obviously lots of running, sprints, the old like sledgehammer on the tire, flipping tires, that kind of stuff. So it was and lots of plyometrics and speed work. But there wasn't like I wasn't bodybuilding, I wasn't lifting for size or anything like that. It was just purely to get as quick as possible, as powerful as possible, but to have the endurance to go whatever rounds you're going as well.
Cool. Um, and then I guess a little bit later in your life, I was reading around 24. Now you're known as the alpha male, but around 24, you were having some troubles with your testosterone levels. Can you talk a little bit about that and the story behind that?
Yeah, so um it's just like a lot of guys experience the symptoms. They just don't know what it is, and it's lethargy. Like I was really run down. I was holding on too much onto too much fat, which is a big one. And I just wasn't feeling up and at it like I usually was. Part of that was probably due to the lack of competition in my life. Like boxing was finished. Quick tidbit: they've done studies that when men compete, especially in fighting, and win, they get a surge in testosterone. So it goes back to
Cool.
the whole thing like men are supposed to be fighting. But that was missing from my life. So, and training, for the first time in my life, I was training for just looks or whatever, and it didn't do anything for me. So, went to the doctor, got the levels tested. They were low for my age, which is still, well, they were average for my age, but who wants to be average, right? So, then I started really looking into testosterone, and not a lot of people had done a lot with natural testosterone enhancement. You see the shots, you go to your doctor and you have low testosterone levels, you're almost guaranteed to be prescribed some kind of shot, some kind of synthetic version of the hormone. I didn't want to do that because it stops your body from producing testosterone. You become dependent on those shots. So I started
Hmm.
looking into natural things, and that led me to a different kind of diet, some lifestyle changes, and I got them retested, and the testosterone levels were awesome. So, kind of packaged that up, put that into a product called the Man Diet. But then a lot of the content on the site that I talk about is how to naturally enhance testosterone levels as well.
Very cool. So once you were able to reach those pretty much optimal testosterone levels, how did that affect your life day to day?
Well, there's the one story I tell on the sales page for the Man Diet, and it's a very like um, it's descriptive of what testosterone does. For one, I've been really increasing the fat in my diet, and fat's where testosterone comes from. Of when we convert cholesterol into testosterone. So I had a really high fat diet. I was combating estrogen levels. I wasn't drinking water from plastics. I wasn't using normal like deodorant or all these different things that have chemical estrogens. So my levels were optimal, and I was taking this testosterone shake that I tell guys about as well. Um, and so I was in Maui with a girlfriend at the time. She was a lot more frisky than normal. Um, and that's supposed to be like a byproduct, the pheromones that you release. It might have just been me, but I thought other girls were into it a little bit more as well. But that could just be me being an idiot. Uh, but then the main thing was we were doing. We went to some guy's house. He had a big water slide on the side of a mountain. So
Wow.
he carved this like moat into the ground, and it whipped and whirled all the way down to this little pool at the bottom. And they had rocks around the pool, and so everyone's going down, going down. Everyone wanted to go faster, faster. So I said, "Screw this! I'm going as fast as possible." But as you're going faster, you feel that this little like slide isn't gonna keep you up, right? So I just did it anyways. I went down the slide with just my heels and shoulders touching the mat, and I went over the last turn and launched into the air and skidded along all the lava rocks that were around the pool and then in the pool. So my entire front was ripped up, bloody.
Oh,
Yeah, it sucked. But so we cleaned it up a bit. It was just blood. I looked like a peeled raspberry. And so then we went home. I ate, did like the normal stuff, took the testosterone shake, whatever. The day after, I was already scabbing. Like 2 days later, the scabs were gone and the scars were starting to really heal. So the healing was the main thing I noticed. Like I healed so quick when my testosterone levels were optimal. And that's what testosterone does. It's a tissue repair hormone along with a sex hormone, but it repairs tissue. So that's when I really noticed that, okay, like this stuff, like having optimal testosterone levels really does affect you. And that is where I noticed it most.
that is nuts, actually, because I remember I was back in university and I had this one teacher who always was pretty talkative. And I don't know what happened. Our class got onto a tangent or whatever. And then he said how his daughter fell and scraped her knees or something. And then he was like, it's ridiculous because she falls and scrapes her knees and she heals in like a week. But then he falls and scrapes his knees and he's like 35 or whatever. And it takes him over a month to heal. So do you think that increasing his testosterone would help him?
Yeah. Oh, big time. Like they say that testosterone levels decline at 30 and they think it's an age related thing, but there's some theories out there that think it's a activity related thing. So if he's older, if it takes him a while to heal, testosterone's the thing you should look at first for sure. That's what it does.
Okay.
That's what it does in our body. It heals tissue. That's why guys who take steroids can build so much muscle and work out 2-3 times a day because they can heal faster.
Yeah, it just shows you that's actually a really great point. Now you're talking about a shake that you were taking. Can you go into a little bit more detail about how you first discovered that shake and then what is in it?
What's his name? Tim Ferriss came out with the 4 Hour Body, and so he had.
Great book.
Yeah, it's awesome. So he was kind of one of the first ones that really did some testing with testosterone and eating more meat, eating more fats. And so I took what he had there. He had a testosterone shake, and I did something that's very similar. I think it's 2 or 3 raw eggs. You go grass fed, free range, whatever milk, so they don't have the hormones pumped in it, and it's not pasteurized, which is tough to find. I think it's illegal here in Canada and in the States as well, which is the stupidest rule you could. I don't know. It's dumb. But you can still find it if you know a farmer. And then I think chia seeds is the other thing. And 2 fish oils. You pop 2 fish oils at the same time, and then maybe 3 or 4 Brazil nuts, which are super high in fat. And and some cinnamon. Throw some cinnamon in there. Cinnamon helps you deal with spike in insulin. It helps you process insulin better. So that'll take care of the lactose in the milk. And that's it. I just do that 3 times a week. You don't overdo it because there's a ton of cholesterol in it, but it seemed to help.
Nice. So what was going through your head the first time you drank that? Because 3 raw eggs, that's pretty brave to take some of that.
No, it's I like. I obviously had tried it once or twice when I was boxing, just because Rocky did it, and
Yeah.
but the first time I had raw eggs, and raw eggs, when you get the raw eggs, the cinnamon, the chia seeds, and you mix them all together, it tastes pretty good. It's not like if you keep them the yolk intact, you can kind of it feels kind of weird because you're like sucking down what would have been like a baby chicken in there. But when
Mhm.
it's all mixed together, it's not bad at all. It kind of tastes like eggnog.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I remember I was back in high school and I was having a party at my house, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but a couple of my buddies were like, "Let's drink raw eggs." So
Yeah.
then they mixed them up and drank them, and they told me it tasted like orange juice. I've never tried it, but I had no idea how it tasted, but I'm assuming it doesn't taste like orange juice.
No, not at all. It's good though. It's not like raw eggs don't taste bad. There's the salmonella is what people are scared of, but salmonella is very rare in eggs. It's not like you're not guaranteed to get salmonella. In fact, I've had raw eggs a lot in my life and I've never had salmonella.
Okay.
So yeah, and they're in. I think raw eggs are in egg. What is it called? That eggnog, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so raw eggs are in eggnog. My girlfriend actually makes it every Christmas, but to combat any salmonella whatsoever, it's literally like three types of liquor. So it's
Oh, okay.
basically like 80% liquor and then
Yeah.
20% eggs.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing I read, and this could just be an old wives' tale, is if you wash the shell of the egg
Yeah.
before cracking it and eating it raw, it's usually okay because apparently the salmonella is on the outside of the egg. But I don't know if that's true or not.
Neither
But
do I.
there's a little thing for you.
Yeah.
It's funny you were saying about the raw milk because I never actually tried raw milk until I moved to Ukraine. I was living in Ukraine for 3 months, and what would happen is in the city there'd be this little market, and all these old grandmothers, what they would do is they'd milk their own cow for the day, and whatever milk they had left over they would just sell to you, and it's straight from the cow.
Hmm.
And it's amazing what happens because I actually have stomach problems, and drinking the raw milk I was totally fine.
Hmm. No, I'm the same. I was allergic to milk, pretty allergic to milk back when I was a kid. But if I have raw milk, no problems whatsoever. It shows you that whatever the hell they're doing to our milk is not how it's supposed to be drank.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was watching a documentary too, and they were saying, I know they do this in the States. I don't know if they do this in Canada, but they're saying um, the milk, the quality of the milk doesn't even need to be that high to pass the test. But if the quality isn't high enough to drink, then they just make cheese out of it, which is
Interesting.
a little interesting thing. Um, so I wanted to talk to you. This is a I found this pretty funny when I was reading your work and researching, and you have a kind of an interesting test that kind of tells you, it kind of shows you if you have lower testosterone levels, and it involves morning wood. So could
Yeah.
you elaborate on that?
Well, testosterone's a sex hormone, right? So and you get a surge from 4 to 6 a.m. So you should be waking up with a boner. That's
It's as
just
easy as
like
that.
as easy as that. So if you're not, something to think about, maybe get your testosterone levels tested anyway. But if you're not waking up with a boner most days of the week, morning wood, whatever, there's like probably a good chance they're not optimal anyway. But yeah, that's one thing you can look at to see if you have lower than optimal testosterone levels.
Hmm. So have you talked with your doctor after they found out that you raised your levels naturally, and were they pretty interested about that?
Nope. I didn't really talk to them too much. They like doctors. I have talked to doctors on my site. There's one doctor who's doing tests. He's doing some studies about vitamin D's effects on testosterone. So he likes the man diet. He's given it to some of his patients and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But my doctor was like, he's one of those take these injections or rub this cream or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't think most doctors know anything about testosterone period. So I'm not going to ask them for advice on it.
Okay. I'm sure the doctors reading your site are the kind of ones you want to be
Yeah,
talking to.
and there's obviously good doctors who know a lot about that, but then when they've got to learn, when they've got to know so much about everything, the quote unquote little things or the specific things, they get kind of lost in the shuffle.
Hmm.
Why they
Yeah.
shots?
Don't get me wrong. Doctors are great and they help save your life, help you get better. But because they have to know so much, they only really know the more important things and they kind of overlook what I found. Not all of them, but they overlook health and how to do things, with food and exercise as opposed to with extra drugs.
Antibiotics or whatever.
Hmm. So do you have any other tests similar to that Morningwood test that kind of shows that you might have low testosterone levels
The
besides
best
doing
thing,
blood work?
yeah, the best thing's the blood work. Other than that, you're kind of just guessing. If you got to look at what testosterone does. If you're overweight, if you're carrying a lot of body fat, very good chance you have low testosterone levels, simply because body fat is estrogenic. So if you're above 20%, you want to get under 15%. If you're above 20, um, odds are that you have low testosterone levels and your estrogen levels are out of control. Um, Other things, if you're always lethargic, that's one thing to suggest that your cortisol levels are too high. Cortisol opposes testosterone. So again, you can't have high cortisol levels and high testosterone levels. It doesn't work like that. Um, Depression, testosterone has been shown to decrease the likelihood of depression. So you can, if you're down all the time, sad, depressed, whatever, that may be a good indication. And then obviously sexual health, not just the morning boner, but if you can't get it up, on command, maybe that's an indication as well. So the best thing to do is, well, those will be indications, but then you still have to go get the blood work anyway. So just go get the blood work, regardless of
Mhm.
whether you're riding high or if you're a little down.
So guys, listen to this. Get your blood work done if you have any of these symptoms, or even if you're just curious, because it's important. I think it's one of the things that makes us a man.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, testosterone's important.
Hmm. So what are some quick fixes guys can do to raise their testosterone naturally then? Now you said the shake is one of them, but what other ones do you
Yeah,
recommend?
they're quick fixes. There aren't. You want sustained results, right? So you get the fight, like fighting. If you fight and win, you're going to get a surge, but it's a surge. It's
Hmm.
not. It doesn't mean you're going to have higher testosterone levels. If you do heavy squats or deadlifts, you're going to get a surge. If you do whatever, something else, like something physical that's explosive, you're going to get a surge. But that's not what you want. What you want is higher base testosterone levels. So you're going to have to lose fat. You might have to, probably will have to increase the dietary fats in your diet, get rid of too much sugar, starch, and all that kind of stuff. Um, Diet, like exercise, start lifting some weights. And those three things are going to do a lot. Now, there's also stuff you can do to combat testosterone's enemies. So we talked about losing body fat. Chemical estrogens are all around us. So they're in your deodorant, they're in plastic water bottles, they're in um, shampoos, they're in a lot of stuff, and they are killing men's testosterone levels. Like men are losing 1.25 or 1.2 to 1.3% base testosterone levels annually. That's insane. So that's according to a study they did out of Massachusetts. So if you can remove testosterone's enemies, chemical estrogens and cortisol, then you can start focusing on increasing your own testosterone levels, which there's tons of things you can do. Even vitamin D. More vitamin D is very important. Vitamin D increases the free testosterone in your body. So free testosterone is the form of testosterone that doctors think is actually important because it's free to move around and repair tissue and do what testosterone does. Exercise does the same thing. High fat diet, all those things increase free testosterone.
Okay. So some of those smaller things that you can kind of work into a morning or evening routine, how would you kind of put that together to someone who wanted to put together a routine, waking or going to bed?
So then just, yeah. Yeah, again, they're only going to work if you're doing the big things, the most important things.
Hmm.
Like the little things you can do aren't going to do anything if you're overweight, if your estrogen levels are too high, or if your cortisol levels are too high. But you can have routines that can help. You can have meat, eggs, nuts for breakfast, so that'll give you all your fats, and meat's very good for you. And then before bed, you can have a couple eggs. Eggs are great, high fat, and a few Brazil nuts and some fish oils. So fats before bed, fats upon rising are pretty important.
Hmm.
Things you can do the testosterone shake as well. Do that 3 times a week. Don't overdo it. But again, those things aren't going to do much if you're not doing the wholesale lifestyle changes like exercise, proper diet, so high animal fats, and then getting rid of the chemical estrogens in your life and lowering your cortisol levels.
Okay. So going back to the exercise, is
Okay.
there a minimum amount that you would recommend someone to exercise? And then what would you get them to do during their session?
Um, it depends on the person. Depends where you are. If you're really overweight, definitely some strength training and add some high intensity cardio in there, or we'll go for a walk or whatever. I think people should be at least doing 30 minutes 4 times a week. And I think strength training's, if we're talking to guys right now. So I think
Hmm.
strength training is pretty damn important. Like as a guy, you want to be stronger. I definitely do strength training, whether you're trying to burn fat, build muscle, get in better shape. Strength training is very important. And then you want to be in shape. You want to do sprints. You want to play a sport. You want to compete. You want to do something like that. So the strength training, and then add a sport in there or some kind of intense form of cardio.
Okay. And then what do you recommend for guys who, are very stressed out and have high cortisol levels? How would you approach them to lower those levels?
So I don't know. Where's that book? Um, shit. Couple books I'd read. Well, one, I get out, I hike once a week. That does wonders for me because I
Mhm.
work a lot. So hiking once a week kind of gets you in nature. That's where we're supposed to be. It's not stressful because there's grizzly bears out there. There's whatever. There's dangerous animals out in the Rockies there. But
Yeah,
it's just
Northern Canada.
yeah, exactly. It gets you in that silence, and it gets you in nature, and I think that's very good for people. So do that once a week. But I don't think stress is a bad thing. I think how we deal with stress is going to be good or bad. We need stress. We need pressure. Pressure busts pipes or it makes diamonds. So how you use stress is going to determine if it's going to affect your cortisol levels and break you and beat you down and make you sad and tired and all this stuff. Or stress can make you rise to the occasion. It can push you to work harder. It can force you to solve problems in your life. So the two or three books I'd read are Man's Search for Meaning is a really good one by Viktor Frankl.
Hmm.
Thoughts of a Philosophical Fighter Pilot by, oh, Stockdale. Can't remember. A great book. And then anything by Epictetus or Seneca or Marcus Aurelius. Those books will help. But if you can figure out how to use pressure and stress in your life rather than running away from it, that never works. And rather than letting it beat you down, I think that will do wonders for your overall health and effectiveness as a man, but also for your testosterone levels and lowering your cortisol levels as well. Like
Yeah.
stress is a mental thing. It's not a thing that we need to react to in a negative way. We can react to it however we want. So that's how you deal with it.
Yeah, I like that approach. Is there anything that you do after like a long day of working to kind of, wind down?
Yeah, I read every day. Um, write three things I'm thankful for, or three things I appreciate, which within the last 24 hours, which has really helped me. I can be kind of not cynical, but like that I shot the bed on this or did this or whatever, and look at only the negative. So forcing myself to look at the positive has been a good thing. And I
Mhm.
watching something funny on TV or playing with my dog or whatever, that'll do the job.
Yeah. Um, do you meditate?
I don't. I've a lot of people I know do. I never got into it. How about yourself?
Yeah. I do it, but only if I'm feeling, like I had a stressful day and I want to unwind and kind of transition into a peaceful evening. I'll
Yeah.
use meditation as a way to doing that. Great app I like to use is called Headspace,
Huh.
which is pretty awesome because it gives you what it's 10 days, 10 minutes a day to kind of give you an intro of what to do.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is doing things like you were saying, going hiking. For me, it's just hanging out by the water in the sun because I live in a pretty sunny place. Or even if I go work out alone without
Mhm.
a workout buddy, that all gets me almost in that meditative state that I get
Yeah.
from actually meditating. So the things you were saying were it's kind of like meditating without the actual
Yeah.
meditation.
Another book is The Practicing Mind. And Flow. If you've read Flow is really good. They look at the optimal human state, and it's when you're engaged in something and time and space and everything else like vanishes and you're just focused on that task. So I'd put a home gym in there and I'd work out a lot of the time by myself, but in between sets I shoot a bow and arrow, just to like get a skill in there, trying to learn something. And then yard work has the same effect. If I'm outside trying to dig a stump or cut down a tree, whatever, a week ago, or even mowing the grass, like being engaged in something where you have to focus. Uh, Shooting shotguns, I do that once a week. Rifle range, that's awesome as well. But where you're really focused and you can't afford to lose attention or whatever. Those it's I guess it's like meditation. On what I've read about meditation, those things are kind of like they're like meditation without sitting down and I don't know. I've never done meditation, so
Okay. Um, Instead of meditation, you just did the alpha male outdoorsman practices, I guess.
I just like skills. Like it's just like what skills can you learn? We do like with the work we do. We're obsessed with writing and marketing and learning about business. But if we can learn more skills outside of this, I think it's good for the brain to continually uh, learn new things. And those things like shooting stuff, do that for a lifetime and still not be great at it.
Is that why you moved back to Calgary?
Yeah, I got into all that kind of stuff out here. The mountains out here, it's more space. Vancouver is getting pretty congested, but I love Calgary. It's awesome. Everything's within 45 minutes to an hour. You got to go that far to really get out there, but once you're there, it's awesome.
That's cool. So that gets me thinking, what was your childhood like?
Um, it's
Like, were
just
you outside a lot,
oh yeah,
playing
yeah.
sports? Like,
Sports all the time. That's all it was pretty much. Sports
mhm.
came first, and I was a rambunctious little shithead. So, like it took me 25, 26 years to be able to focus on something, and it was this business. But it was just an active, super active childhood, always playing sports, competing, stuff like that.
That's cool.
Pretty
And
normal.
what do you think that, or how should I phrase this? What are the kind of things that you learned playing those sports as a kid? How did they impact who you are today? Is there any lessons you could take away from that?
Yeah. Well, back when I was a kid, there was winning and losing. Now I guess they have participation medals, right?
Yeah, it's strange.
Oh, I hate it. It's so stupid. Well, I saw some video like one of these participation medal kids is going to be like the president or prime minister or whatever one day. Like, geez. But
and then everyone who loses being the president or prime minister gets another presentation or
yeah,
participation medal.
exactly. But yeah, sports is everything. I don't get, like, you need to compete. One thing I wrote, putting a book together, but one thing I did a little research on was the ancient Greeks. So we model our society both in America, Canada, and most of the West after it's Judeo-Christian and ancient Greek democracy. And so we love the Greeks, we love their philosophy, we love their philosophers, but their motto, I don't remember what it was in Greek, but it was always be the best. We've forgotten that. Like, we've taken some things, but we've completely ignored their motto, which was always be the best. They competed in sports. They were always fighting each other in war. They even had competitions for art, for literature, for whatever there was in life, for probably farming and all this stuff. Everything was about competition, and we've let that go. So sports is one of the last vestiges. Like, you're going to get in the real world in life and you're going to be forced to compete. But when you're a kid, if you learn how to compete, and this compete is not even about beating the other person. Competing is about what you do in your off time to train so that you can kick someone's ass, so that you can win, so that you can improve. And the more winners we have, the better off we are as a society. So I think sports is everything, and they got to start rewarding winners, just because it makes the winner proud and makes them. And if they're just talented and they win purely off talent, they're going to eventually lose if they don't also work their ass off. And for the ones that weren't winning, it'll either make them work their ass off, train their ass off, and try to become a winner, or they'll just toe the line and be a loser. But either way, it's going to make more winners, because those that want to compete will compete. And so for me, I was a little undersized growing up, and it made me want to really, really work hard, and that translated over to life. If I didn't have sports, I would be, who knows? I don't even want to go down that road, but yeah, sports were huge.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of people underestimate that. And, our society needs that competition, like you say. Now, going back to, you're talking about the man diet. Can you kind of give an overview of how you should be eating like a man?
Yeah, so it's like a man. I don't know. It's more, yeah, it's a diet to help you naturally increase your testosterone levels. So one aspect is fat loss. You got to get your fat down. The other aspect is where testosterone comes from, and that's from a cholesterol, which comes from dietary fats. Now the question is, where do vegetarians and vegans fit into this? Into the man diet? They don't fit in anywhere. I don't want to deal with vegans or vegetarians. It's just, I have no interest in it. If you want to eat like a vegan or vegetarian, do it. Study wise, they've shown that vegans and vegetarians produce around 17% less free testosterone. And you don't know the sample size, because normally vegans are pretty healthy. They do that because they want to be healthier. So that might have been a healthy vegan and a fat meat eater. We don't know. They didn't really talk much about the sample size, but I think it's healthy. We're hunters. We got the eyes in the front of our head, not on the side, like prey. We got the canines where we became smarter when we started eating more dietary fats from fish. Like, we're supposed to eat meat. Quality of meat is very important, but a part of the man diet is eating meat, not too much of it, but eating a ton of fruits and vegetables, and then using carbohydrates. So rather than having your carbs throughout the day, we use them. We put them after the workout for 1 or 2 meals. So you still get your carbs. It's not a completely no carb diet. You still get a fair amount of carbs. They're just after your workout. So you're going to fill your muscles and recover better using those carbs effectively.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And The one thing about eating that way is I think all the best tasting things are just really good meat.
Yeah, 100%. It's you like if you've eaten and part one of the things I say in the man diet is befriend a hunter or start hunting because that's the best meat you could possibly have. If you've seen slaughterhouses, like with the one point that vegans and those PETA people have is how animals are treated in slaughterhouses. We don't need to do that with these mass slaughterhouses, and we've separated the animal from the farm where they used to intermingle and they'd work together. Um, but if you can get free range cattle, grass fed cattle, bison, become buddies with a hunter, do that. Quality of meat's really important, but man, there's nothing better than a steak.
Yeah, I know, eh?
Best
Tell me
tasting.
about it.
Yeah.
I'm living in Malta and they don't do a lot of barbecuing here, so it's very seldom that I get to eat steak. So instead I've been eating a lot of rabbit,
That's
and
good.
so it's a nice change, but I'm going back home for the summer and I'm planning on barbecuing almost every day I'm there, so that it should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Rabbit's good. And one thing we talk about too is variety. If you can eat a variety of different animals, that's good. Fish, variety of different fish, whatever. It's good.
hmm Yeah, one thing I heard, I think it was something that Charles Poliquin was saying. Um, so I'm not sure where he got this, but he's saying that if you eat a large variety of meats, one way it's helpful is you you won't develop a sensitivity as fast as if you were eating, turkey every day. Because you see a lot of bodybuilders that only eat turkey, and now they're kind of they have an insensitivity to it. So every time they eat it, it makes them feel bloated or sick.
Yeah. No, that's important. I've read that as well.
hmm so what about you? What's a typical day of eating look like for you?
I get up early. I get up around 4:30, and then I'll have a coffee, a bunch of coffee. So coffee, I don't try to. I don't intermittent fast. I'm not fasting, but it just so happens that I end up eating around 7, which isn't really fasting, but it's a while after I get up. The first thing I'll eat is some kind of eggs, eggs, some kind of meat, usually bacon, just because it's so bloody good, and then
Yeah.
like some vegetables or something. I'll take a greens powder as well. And then maybe 2 hours will go by. What are we at now? 8, 9. So then I'll eat probably once more, but something a little smaller, like maybe cottage cheese and blueberries. An hour and a half later, I'll go to the gym. Post gym is the shake, and then a meal that's higher in carbs. So maybe some pasta with some chicken or turkey or whatever. And then for dinner, it'll be meat and vegetables. So steak and vegetables or some kind of meat and vegetables. So that's basically it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So very simple, but all those foods are very satisfying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You get to eat. Like that's the thing with guys and diets. Like we can't eat like women on I don't think women can eat like women. All this salads and all this like whatever they eat, like the rice cracker chips or whatever. We need food. So if you eat right, you can eat a lot of food, size wise. You just don't. It ends up not being a ton of calories.
hmm Yeah, it's an interesting lifestyle change. Um, but going a little more along the lines of the lifestyle, what do you think is the ideal male lifestyle?
As far as activity wise,
Just how you live your life. We talked about eating, but um, yeah, everything else besides eating.
well, I think we need um, broad. That's broad. I think we need. Well, we need to be training. Like, what's his name? There's being a good man and there's being good at being a man. Um, you got to handle both. Like, you got to be good, as in honorable and whatever. But you also, I think, a part of being a man is you got to be strong. You got to be able to defend your family and protect others and whatever. We've been doing that since men have been men. So I think some competition in your life is important. I think uh, training and definitely working out. I do it every day just because it's a mental thing for me. I'm not necessarily concerned about the physical stuff, but if I can work out every day, it's like something you don't want to do necessarily. It's tough, it's painful, so I like doing that every day. Um,
Mhm.
but and then I think the hobbies like the bow and arrow thing or whatever, if you can have some kind of skills you're working on, I think that's important as well. Could be yard work, could be gardening, could be whatever. But every guy's got their different thing. I don't have a family, so I don't have those responsibilities. Um, and they're awesome. A good friend of mine's got my godson, so his son, and that's a period in his day that he looks forward to every day. So when his work's done, that's his time with his kids. So it depends on your life, but I think you need some physicality in your life, some training, some form of competition is good, and just learning. And then whatever you do, you fill the rest of your day with.
Cool. That's a good answer. So now I want to move on to some rapid fire questions that I like to ask everyone. You ready?
Yeah, so
All right. So first one, what kind of things are you doing in your life right now to bring you happiness?
work, hiking, dog, family, godson, that kind of stuff.
Cool. What would your profession be if you weren't doing fitness?
Probably writing of some sort. I thought about that. It would be writing. I don't know what it would focus on, but it would be kind of like this, but with the focus being something other than fitness. So it'd still be,
Okay. So it'd be like nonfiction?
yeah, probably, or fiction, whatever. I'd love to write some fiction. You got to get pretty good at writing to write some fiction.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Um, how old are you right now?
30.
30. Okay. So if you were to go back in time and buy your 20-year-old self two books, one fiction and one nonfiction, which would you give yourself?
The fiction's tough because I don't read a lot of fiction. I'll do that first. There's a book over there that I want to read that I haven't read, and then there's Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I like Hemingway. War books, I'm kind of interesting, so probably that. And then Crime and Punishment by what's his face, the Russian guy. I've heard a lot about the
Tolstoy.
book. Yeah, I've heard a lot about the book. Haven't read it, so I'd probably give that to myself. Nonfiction, Unbroken or Fearless. Unbroken. Have you read that or seen them? The movie came out. The movie is horrible, but it's
Okay.
about. It's a really good book.
Do you know who wrote that?
Lauren Hildebrand.
Okay. Cool. I'll definitely have to check that out and I'll put that
Fearless.
in the show
Fearless.
notes.
Yes, Fearless is right here.
Okay, cool.
This
Yeah, I
man,
haven't heard about either of those ones, so I'll have to check them out.
his story, like you get Navy SEAL books that are guys writing about themselves or guys, you know, they're whatever. This is different. This is a guy who overcame so much, and the guy's a hero. It's unbelievable. It's a great book. Both those books give you no excuses. The same with Man's Search for Meaning. Like if a guy can find meaning in a concentration camp, you have no
Hmm.
excuse to be down or whatever when you've got a roof over your head or whatever, you know? So those books are pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that book because I was just in Berlin over the weekend and we got to see a lot of the history from the war and Hitler and the Nazis and all that stuff. And I was thinking of that book because I read it like 2 years ago, and it kind
Yeah.
of puts it in perspective, seeing both sides. Yeah, definitely recommend that one.
Yeah.
Um, and last one, where can people learn more about you?
So I've got the two sites, average2alpha.com, number two. I think we have TO as well. But if you just Google my name, Chad, ChadHowse, everything will be there on the first page. So Google's the easiest thing to do.
Perfect. And then I'll definitely link the man diet in the show notes as well, because I know people are probably going to be very interested about that because it's a simple diet that gives you some really great results. And I think every guy needs to experiment with it for sure.
Yeah, the main thing is give it a shot. If you get it, give it a shot. If it's not for you, get a refund. Not a big deal. But it's a really good way to eat for guys. And I get a lot of women asking how they can change it because a lot of guys, their wives cook for them. So they're saying, how can I change this to eat for me? And the adjustments are very simple. Women will just eat a bit less fat. They definitely won't do the fasting because that kind of messes up women's hormones. And they're not going to supplement with things like zinc. So it's very simple. And their portions will probably be a bit lighter. But if you have a wife that makes your meals, she can make the meals and eat the same meals pretty much. So have at it.
Cool. I'm glad you went over that because that's actually a big problem a lot of guys have.
Yeah,
So thanks so much for coming on, man. This has been awesome. Some really great content.
no problem at all. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So it's Jason Maxwell here with Chad Howse, and we'll see you guys later.